Welcome back to DSP, Detroit Sports Plus, joined today by Derek, Richard, and Ken.
Why the pause?
I like because maybe the referees paused whenever they were trying to not call a foul yesterday, and now we jump right into it. Welcome to the show. Game 4 between the Knicks and the Pistons. I don't know. Where do y'all want to start?
Let's not start with the foul call, please.
Okay. Do we want to start with the deficit in the first half, the comeback in the third quarter, or the fourth quarter that was pretty physical?
I think we should talk about the two home games, because I think a lot of similarities between the two. They come home to a high energy, high anticipation moment. They seemed a little bit too excited about it in game 3, and then in game 4 we thought, okay, maybe they're going to come in a little used to it, and they came out a bit flat.
Very flat.
And so you had two first halves that were pretty bad at home, and both games they had to try to climb out of that hole. Both games they did, and both games they lost.
But with this team, you got to remember, this is a team that can't fight back through deficits like that. You have to kind of play even. And what you saw in both games was that the Pistons came and they got back in the game, both games. But at the same time, you have a New York team that's loaded. I mean, Brunson, Cat, Bridges hitting big shots or whatever. It's like you kind of have to play perfect, unfortunately. And then when you add into the refs, the reason why I didn't want to play New York is New York and their officiating. And with all that factored in, I just think that the Pistons, you can't turn the ball over. You got to make those shots. And what you saw in those two games is that a team that's just learning how to win, period.
Yeah, we all wore black for the funeral today because we know it's over, right? I mean, it's pretty much over.
Let's not say that.
The thing that stood out to me was all year as we realized the Pistons were going to be in the playoffs, we were like, I can't wait for Cade's playoff moment, right? To see Cade in the playoffs. And it felt, after Karl Anthony Towns hit that 3 to go up 1, it felt like now's the time. We're going to see that Cade moment. And the two possessions were a bad turnover and a missed, honestly, it was a pretty open look. You expect him to hit that. And a lot of that has gone untalked about because of the controversial ending of the game. But to me, it just sticks in my mind how much different the vibe would be if Cade had hit that shot, right? The Pistons would be 2-2. We'd be talking about that was his hero moment. And instead, it's kind of we're all just really bummed today.
But, talking about the foul call that did not happen.
But the whole series has been about missed opportunities for the Pistons. They have been in every game to the end. They had chances to win every game in the series so far, and on the 3 losses, they shot themselves in the foot each one of those times. I mean, the Knicks the Knicks are coming in with experience. They have 2 superstars. They should be winning these games. But the Pistons have been right there the entire time, and in many cases ahead and blown leads, and that's super frustrating. Even though they're a young team that shouldn't win these games on paper,
And it has been a throwback series in a way because
don't you love it?
Physicality
it's awesome.
It's been great. I mean, it's actually refreshing to see teams win with neither scoring more than 100 points.
Look at yesterday's score, 94-93.
Yeah, it is. That's unheard of right now.
You know what I mean? And it's the games were kind of to the Pistons, what they want to be. They want to be tough defensively, and it just sucks that they couldn't pull it out
because their identity is showing in these games.
But the thing is, though, you can't. In the fourth quarter, it was a stretch where both teams were going back and forth. The Pistons can't play that game. You know what I mean? They got to take care of the basketball, and to have 4 turnovers in the fourth quarter when Brunson goes out, and that's when everybody was saying that you got to put your foot on their neck. You got to put your foot on their neck. And you come down, you're being a days ago with the ball. I mean, Asar Thompson gets the ball in the lane, tries to throw a behind the back or some type of pass to Beasley, turn the ball over, and then you give up defensively. You can't make defensive lapses. You have to get on guys, and you have to guard the 3-point line because the Pistons, they were struggling from 3. Malik Beasley, thankfully he showed up, but for a minute he's been on a milk carton for 2 of these games. But winning time, you've got to be able to make those plays. And as you saw, Jalen Brunson, it wasn't the foul baiting. He was actually going to the rim getting buckets.
When the Knicks have been up against the wall, their stars come through. Cat and Brunson, they can score at will if they want to.
And that's been the key.
We saw that with Cat.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, the 2 shots he made, the 3 that you mentioned, I mean, that was a good pull-up. But the turnaround that he had that was like Kobe style, and Duren is like in his face. You can't play better defense. So sometimes you mentioned it, like they have 2 superstars on their roster. They're going to make their plays as well.
Because the Pistons have to decide, who's going to get theirs. Brunson's going to get his. The key has been Cat. Game 2, Cat is ineffective. The Pistons win. 3 and 4, Cat goes off for 30+. So
he had something to prove. I mean, he had 10 points in game 2?
Yeah.
So he had something to prove.
Didn't have
coming
like a
in,
second half shot, but it's just the situation is the Pistons have to decide, hey, what are we going to do? And right now it's desperation mode. And one of the things I've been calling for is for them to go small and just play Tobias at the 5, because when you play Duren, Cat can just face him up and go straight to the rim. We saw that on the baseline shot that he played good defense on, but it still was a shot that was kind of tough. But when it comes to those threes, you got to be able to close out on that man.
And who was on Cat in game 2 that the Pistons won, to your point?
Tobias. So, I mean, I think Tobias, this is what you got to do now. Your back's against the wall. You got to go small. And the Pistons also, they've got to just say, hey, we got to play Asar.
That rhymed. I like that.
Yeah, that was nice. Wow.
But you got to play Asar. I mean, I know a lot of people on Twitter and stuff like that, X, were saying, like, you got to play the young kids. I mean, you just got to now. Asar is going to be a liability.
You don't really have a choice.
You ain't got a choice right now, But he has shown that he can guard Brunson. And I think as the series going on now, I think we've seen none of those. Game 3 was a lot of ticky-tack, but I think yesterday it was kind of like, hey, they just let them play.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was good. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night. I think they owe us one, because now we can talk about the foul. They kind of owe us one.
So what'd you think of the final call? Or the final no call?
I mean, it's disappointing, obviously.
Yeah.
It was a foul, blah, 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 all that stuff.
K got a good look. I mean, K got a great look.
I'm not. I was just telling Derek before this doesn't feel like one of those big Lions blown call moments to me where like there was a flag on a play and they, this whole, or, whatever it may be. That it doesn't feel like that to me because the Pistons were in a position to win that game the entire 4th quarter until the very last seconds. And they did that to themselves. They did not need to be, they should not have been in that position in the first place to allow the refs to decide the game like that.
It's the story of the series. The Pistons have been in position to win. And, and you hopefully after the series is over, they'll take from this to say, hey, this is how you make possessions matter. And during the regular season, you'll try to play a playoff style. So whereas when you get to the actual playoffs, you're ready. You know what I mean? So I just think like this is a great learning experience, but also it's showing K like, hey, you could be a star for the first 3 quarters, but the 4th quarter is where you make your name. That's where you make your name.
Yeah.
And, and he's had opportunities, but those, like game 3 when he drove on Cat and lost the ball, they come down and score. Ball game. Yesterday, he turns it over, and then he also misses that shot. So, I mean, hey. But that's how you roll.
I think this is like a very complex topic because nobody is disputing that was clearly a foul, right? And there's a little bit of heightened frustration, I think, because so much of what should have been called there. We've just seen it from like Brunson and the Knicks in general this series. So it's like top of mind, and then it happens in a key moment, and it's like a very emotional reaction. But at the same time, I don't feel the outrage like Ken was talking about. I don't feel the same outrage as I have in previous instances because the Pistons had the game anyways, right? Like they got a good look on that possession and everything. And personally, I want to pose this question to you guys. Like, do you think it's a little bit hypocritical for Pistons fans to spend all season being like, we're the bad boys, reincarnated. Like, we play physical basketball. And then we turn around and expect, like, the rest to save you in this game.
I understand because you talk about wanting to play a physical series.
We complain about Brunson all week, and then
it's almost like somewhere halfway between in this series, the complaints about foul calling shifted. Because what was it, game 2, Tom Thibodeau was like, well, Brunson's not getting the calls. They shot like 10 times more free throws than we did in the first game.
Get to Phil Jackson.
And then it kind of morphed in a little bit right there. But I agree with you. You can't say we want to play a physical series and then get to a crucial moment like that. And I think what the sting is, because the answer to me is somewhere in between, is because the NBA came out less than an hour later and said, we messed up the call. That is literally pouring salt in the wound. And I think that's why people here in Detroit have a big problem with it. because the NBA had admitted fault. And you don't make that call in a game where this series could be tied 2-2. Like this game 4, whenever you're down 2-1, this is the series in so many ways, because down 3-1 and being tied 2-2, that is a world of difference going to New York.
But when you say that, we've talked all season about wanting to be physical. Some of the stuff that's been happening in these games have been crazy. And it's probably in my 30-some years watching NBA basketball, I've never seen a series officiated the way it's been here. And,
Good or bad?
Bad. Okay. I mean, because it's not even, it's totally like New York is being overly physical, grabbing and all that stuff like that. And it's pretty blatant. We've all seen it. But it's a situation where, like, you have a young team here and they're trying to compete. And it's like, all you want is just it to be equal. And I feel like in certain instances of these games, it hasn't been. But when it comes to that last play, if it's the other way around, they are calling that. So I think that's what a lot of people are saying. If Brunson is shooting that or whoever, they're calling it. So, I mean, I don't think it's more of us being hypocritical. It's more of us we just want it to be fair. And, and a lot of us are not saying that was the game. A lot of us are not saying that, you know what I'm saying? But in reality, that's what happened. And unfortunately, they're down 3-1.
I think, the Pistons' identity that Bickerstaff has been trying to build is not necessarily a rough and tumble team, but like a defensive hard-nosed team that is going to, give you trouble no matter who you are and no matter what night it is. I don't think it goes to, being okay with a foul on a three-point shooter in the air. You know what I mean? Like those two things are not the same to me. I don't know if people think that no call is like, well, tough. That's what you wanted. That you wanted tough basketball. That's what you get. You get fouled while you're defenseless in the air. I don't think that's what we're looking for in the league.
But let it be known, like the great Isaiah Thomas says, the Knicks have had to fight to win this series.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think as Piston fans around, I think that's what they wanted to see. And that's what I think JB wants to build. Is like, hey, you're not going to come in here and take it from us. You're going to have to fight for it.
Earn every single shot.
And the Knicks have had to earn every game they won. We see what happened tomorrow, but I think what we can take away from this, no matter the outcome, is that the Pistons they ain't no pushovers no more.
No.
Ain't nobody going to come into LCA and try to push us around. Hey, y'all going to come and see some guys, and they're going to take care of business.
How much differently? I'll ask you, because it's all hypothetical at this point. But how much, you mentioned this team being hard-nosed defensively, that's been their identity all season, that's been the mindset all season. When you're losing the player that embodies that.
Huge.
Like, if Beef Stew plays Game 3 and Game 4,
huge.
Where are we looking at?
2-2. Totally looking at 2-2.
At worst.
At worst. Yeah, I mean, it could be up 3-1.
Because I think when I talk about them playing small, I think that he will fit into that. You know what I mean? Because I think that's the whole key, is really trying to figure out how you're going to guard
him at the 5 or the 4?
Either. You know what I mean? But I just think that, if you put Stu at the 5, maybe Tobias, 2 of the shooters, and Cade, I think you got a good shot. You know what I mean? And Stu's going to battle. So I think, we don't have all our pieces. You know what I'm saying? Plus, we're missing Jay and Ivy, too. And I mean, that's huge. So, a lot of us are kind of like, dang, we wish they could be in the series and all that stuff. But it's like, hey, we're missing 2 key pieces. So, I mean.
Stu, man. I mean, it's hard to measure his impact on the team, And for him to be out these 3 games, that he's got to be dealing with something serious, because there is no way.
Anytime the camera cuts to him, it's like just pain.
There is no way that he would not be playing unless he absolutely could not. So I feel for him. I'm sure it's tough for him on the bench watching this. Yeah. And, shout out to B-Ball Paul. He's done some good things on the court, but, man, Isaiah Stewart just had such a fantastic year, especially defensively, and it will be a bummer if he can't come back at all for this series. It will be a bummer.
But that's one thing they're going to have to address in the offseason. They've got to get some help up front. I mean,
can't be stuck with B-Ball Paul in the playoffs.
You got Paul Reed and just Jalen Duren as your only centers. I mean, they really need to go out and get somebody at that 5-4 that can kind of be versatile when you're playing a cat. You know what I mean? And I may be asking for like a pipe dream, but we really need somebody across that front line that can kind of be versatile and guard those bigs.
Well, if this front office did anything, I mean, they saw the weaknesses last year of what they needed to go and do. They addressed that. You have to think that that's what's going to happen this coming offseason. But looking at this series, 3-1 going into Game 5 in New York, how do the Pistons win 3 in a row to advance?
If anybody can do it, it's these guys. I mean, to lose Game 1 the way they did and then to bounce back and immediately take Game 2 on the road, these guys don't let previous games drag them down. So, I don't think the Pistons have a very good shot to win the series, but I wouldn't be surprised if they won Game 5.
Yeah, I mean, all you can do is just say one game at a time. So I think the key is going into tomorrow is that you guys have just got to go in and just play your game and just limit the turnovers and just try. That's all you can do at this point. I mean, you limit those turnovers, you keep the game close, and then you see what you can do in the fourth quarter. But guys have got to make shots. Beasley's got to make shots. Hardaway's got to make shots. The minute Ron Holland comes in, he's got to do something. You mean you can't just be turning the ball over and just running around. You know what I mean? You have to do something. So somebody's just got to make an impact, and we'll see what happens.
I think they're a fantastic road team, and they step up to these challenges. I could see them winning Game 5. I think being at LCA was a little bit too much for them. I really do. And going back on the road, the pressure's off a bit. Nobody expected them to win this series anyway. So except for Ian. Where's Ian? And Ben. But I think they can steal one on the road here.
But I will say kudos to that LCA crowd game 3 and 4. Like, oh my God, isn't it great to see playoff basketball?
It was like a Lions game in there. At
it
times.
did.
Like that's when Hardaway hit the back-to-back threes in Game 3. That place was up for grabs, and it was just so amazing. Like just to be in that and just feel that, it was just awesome. So hopefully we can have more of that to come.
Hopefully this is only the start of some special stuff to come for the Pistons. Richard, thank you for joining us. When we come back on DSP, we'll dive into the NFL draft. Yeah, that was also happening this weekend. The Lions adding some crucial pieces to their lines. We'll discuss that coming up next.